Welcome to part 2 of your induction. Today we are going to look at the really important things around safety in the workplace. In Western Australia, workplace occupational health and safety is legislated by the Western Australian Occupational Health and Safety Act 2020. The aim of this legislation is to promote workers' safety and health, protect workers from hazard, ensure a safe and hygienic workplace, eliminate and control hazards, encourage cooperation and consultation, promote awareness of OHS issues. Geograph Civil is committed to ensuring that a safe and healthy work environment is provided and maintained for all workers. In order to demonstrate our management's commitment, we have developed the Geograph Civil S1 Occupational Health and Safety Policy. This forms part of our Occupational Health and Safety Management System. The S1 Occupational Health and Safety Policy is reviewed and signed annually by management, contained in your employee handbook which you have received and read, can be found on display in common areas such as the front office reception and staff notice board. The Managing Director accepts responsibility for the effective maintenance of OHS management system, policy, and will provide systems, training, supervision and visible support to ensure a safe work environment. This policy is an integral part of Geograph Civil's risk management and will be reviewed annually by management to ensure its ongoing relevance and commitment to occupational safety and health. In Western Australia, the law requires workers to provide a high standard of safety and health at their workplaces. This is to ensure that themselves or other persons are not injured or harmed because of their work or occupational environment. This falls under Section 20.1 of the Occupational Health and Safety Act. The worker's duty of care includes taking reasonable care for their own health and safety at work, avoiding affecting the health and safety of other people at work, reporting potential hazards, following safe work policies and procedures, participate in safety training, wearing the correct personal protective equipment as required, complying with health and safety instructions given. What is the duty of care of the employer? In Western Australia, the law requires employers to provide a high standard of safety and health at their workplaces to ensure that workers are not injured or harmed because of their work or occupational environment. This falls under Section 19.1 of the Occupational Health and Safety Act. The employer's duty of care includes providing and maintaining workplaces, plant and systems of work so your workers are not exposed to hazards, providing information about any hazards and risks from the work, providing instruction, training and supervision to all workers so they are able to work safely, consulting and cooperating with safety and health representatives and all workers about health and safety. Ensure to provide adequate personal protective clothing and equipment, ensuring the safety and health in relation to plant and hazardous substances so workers are not exposed to hazards. Ensure the safety and health of people who are not your workers. This duty under Section 21 of the OSH Act applies where there are visitors, volunteers, work experience students or any other people at the workplace. Geograph Civil is involved in the use of specialist plant and equipment, and it is essential that these are operated in a safe, effective and environmentally friendly manner. Before the commencement of use of plant and equipment, it is essential that you have been assessed as competent to do so and have the required competency, certificates and licenses with you or able to present if asked. Complete a job safety analysis form and a safe work method statement. Complete a daily pre-start checklist for the plant or machine to assess its safety, assess the working environment and wear the correct PPE. When completing works, you may be required to isolate or tag out a piece of equipment or plant or machine due to faults or the quality of work being decreased due to the equipment. This is required for worker safety and quality of work being produced. Tagging and isolation. If a piece of equipment is faulty, do not operate it. Before tagging any equipment out of service or working on any isolated or tagged equipment, it is essential that you have been assessed as competent to do so, follow the requirements for isolation and tagging, have communicated or been instructed by a supervisor or on-site workshop manager. Portable electrical equipment must be tested and tagged for the use by a qualified person. Before use of any portable electrical equipment, workers must inspect the equipment for damage. If or when using RCDs, employees must test the trip mechanism before commencing work. If you have any doubts, tag the item out of service. The types of tags Geographics will use are information safety tags. These are used to inform or warn personnel before the use of equipment or plant. Personal danger tags. These are used to prevent unauthorized operation of equipment during repairs, installation or maintenance. They are attached to the battery power source of the asset. They can only be removed by yourself. Out of service tags. These are used to provide information to other employees as to why the plant or machine is out of service. They are used when plant and machine require any maintenance or servicing. They can only be removed by a competent person once the issue is resolved. Hand and power tools. Often hand and power tools are taken for granted. WorkSafe research has shown that the most lost time injuries are caused by improper use of hand tools or poor housekeeping. The main cause of harm is tools not being used for their intended purpose, where they are modified or where they have been left lying around. Operators must comply with the Geograph Civil's Safe Work Procedures, Safe Work Method Statements or Job Safety Analysis Forms before using hand tools. All hand and power tools must be inspected prior to use. Electrical inspection tags must be within the valid period. Any faults or damage must be reported and the equipment is to be tagged out of service. Some tools and equipment require specific training or units of competency. If you are uncertain or unsure of how to use something, please speak with your supervisor or HSEQ manager. Air compressors. Some work at Geograph Civil requires the use of an air compressor. Due to the extreme pressures of an air compressor, it is extremely important that employees who are operating the compressor are trained, wearing the correct PPE and are vigilant at all times. It is also required that the equipment is inspected each time before it is used. Any faulty parts must be reported and tagged out of service immediately. The risks associated with air compressors are extremely dangerous. If high pressure air is applied to a wound or forced through skin, it can result in air entering the bloodstream, which can result in a severe injury or death. The air compressor is not to be used to blow dust off of your clothes or another person's. If employers are found to be misusing the air compressor, it may result in an instant dismissal. Air hoses should not be directed at people when in use. Confined space work. Confined space work involves particular health and safety hazards and risks, including toxic vapours, potentially explosive atmospheres, or oxygen deficiencies. Noise, equipment, and heat also pose a significant risk of injury or harm if introduced into confined work environments. A trained person must be present outside the confined space. They must be first aid trained and have the adequate means of communication with the person inside the confined space. Before entry into a confined space, a pre-entry checklist and confined space entry permit must be obtained from our client representative, as well as a risk assessment of the work environment, e.g. a SWIMS or a JSA. Hazardous substances. Geograph Civil use numerous chemicals for various jobs, even though we make all attempts to obtain the safest work. Sometimes we are required to use hazardous, toxic or dangerous goods. Therefore, it is essential that employees are aware of the controls required before they use the chemicals. The safety and environmental controls are outlined in the chemical safety data sheet. The relevant safety data sheets are readily available to all employees. These can be obtained from the associated Safety Data Sheet Register or requested from HSEQ. Never handle or use a chemical unless you have read and understood the safety data sheet and introduced the appropriate controls. If you do not understand the safety data sheet, consult with your supervisor or the HSEQ supervisor. The safety data sheet provides information on how to correctly dispose of the chemical, what PPE is required, the storage requirements, first aid and fire suppression requirements. These instructions are to be followed every time an employee is disposing of the chemical. To ensure we have adequate first aid and emergency response, first aid kits, fire extinguishers and spill kits are to be readily available in the immediate area when disposing of a chemical. Working at heights. Working at heights poses a high level of risk. Such work is to be carried out only by trained and competent personnel with the required competencies such as an EWP, working at heights or scaffolding. Where practical, barriers should be put in place in preference to the use of fall protection systems. Where fall protection systems are required, they must be thoroughly checked. All equipment is to have the correct quarterly test and inspection tags before use to ensure they are capable of taking the full force of a fall. If emergency response is required, ensure an immediate responder and plan is in place before commencing the work. A safety harness must be worn at all times. Manual tasks and manual handling. Manual tasks and manual handling causes multiple long-term injuries when not done through the correct techniques. Something as simple as a single lift can cause lifelong injuries. This type of work causes more workers' compensation claims each year than any other mechanism. To ensure our workers are safe, we use both the safe work procedures of manual handling and the manual handling and ergonomics procedure. Both of these procedures are available from the HSEQ office or contained within the RED project site job files. When manual handling, to avoid injury, plan the lift and consider the means by which the risk can be eliminated. Seek help to assess whether a mechanical device or a team lift is necessary. Bend your knees, keep your back straight and never twist as you lift. Know the weight of the item and plan your route. Any manual handling injury or incident, no matter how small, must be reported immediately. UV exposure and heat stress. Working in direct sunlight substantially increases the risk of dehydration and skin cancer. It is essential these guidelines are followed when working in hot, humid or sunny conditions. Ensure to wear appropriate clothing, including a broad brim hat or an attachment to a safety helmet, high visibility long pants, long sleeved high visibility shirt. Drink plenty of water. Monitor for signs of dehydration. These can be cramps, tiredness, inattention, dark or yellow urine. Use sunscreen and reapply it regularly. Use Hydrolyte replacement if required. Reschedule manual tasks to cooler times of the day if possible. Take regular breaks. Wear a hat. Use shade or an umbrella if possible. Company rules. There are various rules in place to ensure a safe and environmentally friendly workplace. The following behaviour is unacceptable and may result in instant dismissal. A deliberate breach of HSEQ procedures, failing to follow a reasonable instruction, willfully disregarding quality standards, deliberate or negligent damage of company property, stealing or defrauding, lying or making false declarations, smoking in a prohibited area, alcohol or drug use in any work area, fighting, violence or intimidation, harassing or bullying an employee.